Hello, today we are going to be talking about climate change in Minnesota. All right, so let's get going. All the information today is from the Will Steger Foundation, and the Will Steger Foundation uses scientifically peer-checked resources for their data. So first off, our state is made of 4 biomes. All right. And biomes in our state are the tall aspen parkland biome. And in my picture here, that's this like kind of greenish area right up here. Okay. That is the tall grass aspen parkland. Then down here to the south, we have the prairie grassland. Okay. Then we have the deciduous forest biome, and that kind of runs through the middle of the state, kind of a line between the prairie biome and the coniferous forest biome. And lastly, with these tall pine trees, we have the coniferous forest biome. So depending on where you are in the state can look really different, and that's because there are different biomes of that state. And our state's biomes are mainly made by the amount of precipitation we get there and the amount of and the temperature of that place. Okay, so we live here in this little red dot. What biome do we live in? Okay, now that you've answered that, a kind of a quick thing as we look at this map here is that if climate change continues to go on, what we can expect is that the deciduous forest biome is going to creep up north more and more, and the prairie grassland biome is also going to creep up north more and more. So if you like the tall pine trees, please listen up as we're talking through things today. So first off, let's talk about some basics of weather and climate. So you have watched a couple ed puzzles on this, and we've talked about it in class. Basically, weather is short term. It's the short-term, day-to-day weather of your place. Climate is the long-term average of the weather. And when I say long-term, I'm talking 30 years or more. I am 33 years old. Okay, so when I'm talking about like changes, I'm talking about changes that have gradually happened in my lifetime. Okay, so that old. And kind of a little note on this, guys. If somebody says, "Man, we've had a super bad storm last summer," that must be climate change. Now, that's not true. Okay, one storm is weather. One storm is weather. One really hot day is weather. Okay. If someone says, "Man, there's been a lot of storms, and I've seen, storms be more severe, and there's been more storms over the last 30 years, then that is climate. All right. So sometimes climate change is hard to see because it takes place over such a long period of time. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we can expect to see because of this. And we are already seeing these things right now. I'm just going to show you here on my webcam. So I have books upon books upon books of graphs. Okay, I'm only going to show you a few of them, but scientists really look at the long averages of things and try to see, why is that going on? Okay, so we are going to talk about a few of these right now. There are 6 implications of climate change for our state. And so these are 6 things that we can expect for our state. Now, scientists made these and they can sound pretty complex. So what I did is I just copied what the scientists wrote here, and I just kind of put it in my own words down below. So I'm going to be going through the things in our own words, okay? So the first one, the first implication of climate change for our state is, number 1, the amount of rain and snow we are going to get is going to change. So what they mean by that is when we get snow is going to change, and then how much snow, okay? So it's just going to change. And also, the amount of days with very high hot temperatures are going to go up, and the amount of days with very, very cold temperatures on average are going to go up, okay? So you are going to hear more and more like, we set a new record high for this, or we set a new record low for this, okay? So the first one, the amount of rainfall and the amount of snow is going to change, and our temperature up here is going to go like highs and lows. We are going to kind of have more extreme weather, all right? Or the extreme temperatures. All right. So this is a graph right here that this is a map of the United States. And this is the average temperature change from 1970 to 2013. And right here is the key. So this is the temperature change from 1970. So that's been over 50 years. All right. So that is a long time. And if we look up where we are, okay, which we are about right there, guess how much our temperature has changed based on this chart. So now that you've done that, so our temperature has, our average temperature throughout the year has increased like 6 or 7 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you look across our entire country, up where we live is probably the largest increase, okay? And this is the average. So it's not like every single day is warmer, right? This is 50 years of temperature averaged out, all right? So averaged out, we are experiencing more higher temperatures in our state. All right, number 2. So basically, different temperatures. There's going to be different temperatures, different rainfall, and invasive species and pests that can lead to trees dying and the forest becoming more like a grassland before the end of 2100, so that year. So basically, because of all these changes in temperature and rainfall, there are going to be more invasive species and pests that can lead to the trees dying off and the forest becoming more like a grassland within the next 80 years or so. So that's what they were talking about up here by the end of the century. All right, so this is a map that shows a part of this. It's not a whole, the whole picture, but it's just a part. So this map on the left-hand side is the United States in the year 1990, and this is a map in 2015. And what the different colors mean is that they are the different plant hardiness zones. So what they mean by that is, depending on what zone a plant is in, like different plants grow in these zones. So different plants grow in these orange zones versus the blue zones, okay? So in just 25 years, you can see that these zones have really shifted, right? So everything has kind of shifted upwards. So there's a little bit more orange, there's a little bit more of this, and so on and so forth, okay? So again, Cass Lake is here-ish. Sorry, I couldn't get this one arrow to really work. So please answer the next question based on where we're at. So now that you've answered that question, yes. So the zone for our area up here has changed a lot in the last 25 years. And what scientists and some politicians are trying to do is to make it so that this change does not go on, okay? To kind of try to keep the plants that we have seen for many years grow in these places continue to grow in those places. All right, number 3. So as climate changes, it will put stress on ecosystems. Native species are going to be affected, kind of like what we just saw with the plants, right? Also, humans rely on ecosystems for many things. Since ecosystems are being affected, important things for humans like purifying water through the ground, controlling floods, crops and food, natural resources, and different outdoor fun things will all be affected. Number 4. So after reading this part here, this is basically what it says. There will be more poor air quality days. There will be more high temperature days. There will be more heavy rainfalls. So things that used to be kind of like a sprinkle type of storm will now be a bigger storm. You might see longer pollen seasons. So if you have allergies to pollens and things like that, these seasons are going to be longer. And then pests and insects that carry diseases will be able to move around more. So this is a graph of Lyme's disease and the cases and how they've changed throughout the years. So on the left-hand side here, we have the state and the case rate from 1996 to 2000. And you can kind of see the different color code down here. And these little blocks are the different counties of the state. So you can kind of see Beltrami County is right here. It had 1 to 10 cases on average per 10,000 people per year, okay, in that county. All right, so they had 1 to 10. So then in 2001 to 2005, the average went up. Okay, so now they average 11 to 100 cases per 100,000 people per year here. And now we're continuing up, and you can kind of see a change there, okay? So Cass County is right here, okay? Okay, Cass County's here. So can you guys tell what has happened with the Lyme's disease case rate throughout this time? Answer that on your Ed puzzle. All right, and number 5. If you live in town, water system in your town could have a hard time keeping up with the increased flood risks and changes in precipitation. This will cost a lot of money to update these water systems. So again, I'm just summarizing what the scientists wrote here. I just kind of wrote it in a little easier language. Number 6, at risk. I'm so sorry. Started reading the top one. So this one was kind of seen down here. So the first part of this is that basically people without disposable resources and money may have a hard time recovering and coping with all these extreme events. So like extreme flooding, extreme droughts, and those sorts of things. And then the second part of 6, which I don't really think should be tied together, it should be its own separate number, is tribal nations are going to be affected as well, because they rely on nature as a cultural resource, a source of income and daily life. So that's basically what number 6 says. Okay. So again, those were the 6 implications for climate change for our state. And I'm going to end this with this little flow chart, which is a really interesting flow chart. And it kind of explains everything that I just talked about. Okay. So starting up at the top, we have a warmer climate season. Warming climate and a longer growing season can cause, and then these arrows here point to everything that can cause. So a warmer climate and longer growing season can cause more frequent and longer droughts. Okay. It can cause exotic earthworms to spread faster. It can cause more deer. It can cause more fires. It can cause more windstorms, and it can cause more pests and diseases. Okay. So that's what those blue things. And then from there, these things can cause warmer and drier soil. Exotic earthworms can cause these 3 things. Okay. Deer can cause this as well. Fires can cause this as well. Okay. Fires can also cause this. More windstorms can cause more fires and this, and more pests and diseases can kill trees too. Okay, so it's kind of talking about everything we just talked about there. Then these lower nutrients can also cause this. Warmer and drier soil can also cause this. These green parts here, those are ways that people can help offset that and make these 2 things a little bit better. All right. All of these things lead to adult trees dying off and new trees not growing in their place. And this can all cause savannification. And savannification means that a place is changing the trees, let's say trees there, and it's going into a grassland. All right, so savannification kind of means that it's going from a place covered by trees to a place that's more covered by grassland. All right. And when I go back to our very beginning slide here, and I can't go back easily, I kind of talked about that. We have up at the top here, we're talking about this first, the second slide here. We talked about that, how this biome is going to be slowly over time moving northland. Okay. And this could be changes of trees and then eventually turning into a grassland. Okay. And this, guys, is something that can be changed. It can be stopped. I'm not telling you this all to scare you, but I'm telling you what scientists agree is going to happen if climate change continues. All right. So this is not the end. There's so much we can do to help our generations and future generations out, but it's super important that we're informed today. So I'm sorry the video was kind of a rush, but I wanted to make sure that I go over this stuff with you before you go to the summertime. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.